Hi, Brian from Brian's Art for Animals here, along with Nina Pup Pup, queen of all that's crazy. We're going to just do a really quick video. I have a lot of animal collections. Fortunately, I collect a lot of junk. So I will do some short videos to feature some things I've collected from my various trips around the world or throughout the U.S. Seeing zoos and stuff like that. So I figured I would start off with LPs. I love to collect LPs, as you can see behind me. And let's get right into some of my favorite animal-themed LPs. Alright, well, we'll start with the movie that actually came out before I was born, Born Free. It's a story of the Adamsons, a true story, who came across a lion cub and wanted to release that cub into Africa. It's a really feel-good movie and all that, but as you get older and realize the truth behind it, of course, animal rehab is very, very hard to do. Elsa, the female lioness that this was all about, actually didn't live long when she was introed to the wild. She passed away, they listed it as tick fever. It's the true story of it, which I'll list a link to in the description. Is really, really sad. A lot of the people involved were killed, either from lions or employees. Lions had to be shot. It's a tricky thing. So let's move on to some happier things. This was the first movie I can recall, came out when I was 8 years old. It's the first movie that I really liked the animals more than the actors. I was really feeling for the horsey. I really care less much about the people in it, but love the horse, the story of the horse. Never was too much into Black Stallion Returns, but Black Stallion, awesome movie and cool soundtrack. Of course, Mr. Benji, who would love the mutt of all mutts. Again, this came out a little bit before I was born, but it was always shown on TV and stuff like that. Again, a movie that I really cared more about the animals and the people involved. Speaking to that note, now I don't like rats at all, but Ben from the movie Willard and then into his own movie Ben, here by Michael Jackson, sung the theme song. We'll show you the movie poster. I'm going to do another animal movie poster thing later, and animal figures. I'm a geek, so I have lots of animal stuff. If you get a chance to see the movie, it's a pretty good movie. Willard's part 1, part 2 is Ben, of course. Now we're talking about rats, going into the king of all the rats and rodents, Mickey Mouse. Walt Disney, of course, The Jungle Book. This came out in 1967. It was the last movie actually made by Mr. Walter D, as I call him. Shere Khan the tiger, Bagheera the black leopard, sometimes called panther, just black leopard. Baloo, listed as a sleepy brown bear, but in this area of India, where this was supposed to be, of course, sloth bear would be the bear that it is, so Baloo the sloth bear. Of course, when you think of Walt Disney and animal movies, you gotta think of Lion King. It's the best of all the animal films, I think. Of course, it turns a lot of people on to the Animal Kingdom, which is really good. Of course, you got the Elton John song, The Circle of Life, which explains that everything sort of dies, which is realistic. That's kind of the pros and cons with the whole Lion King thing, is it puts cartoonish personalities on animals, which gets people into really enjoying animals in the outside world and hopefully want to travel to Africa. Great, but you don't want to get too cartoonish. It is the wild out there. Some of the characters are killed off. Of course, that's what happens out there in the real world. Now, speaking about that, on a horrific note, this is a CD, of course, not an album, but throw it in there. Grizzly Man, the tragic but completely avoidable accident to Mr. Treadwell up there in October 2003 up in Alaska, when he just kept getting too close to these animals and unfortunately was killed by a grizzly. It's a good movie, and of course, if you can come to the soundtrack, that's pretty cool as well. Of course, Seuss, if I ran the zoo I worked at, it would be the best zoo ever, I'm telling you, but awesome story. It's just kind of neat, and it ties us into the zoo theme, which is another album that I always like. Finally picked this one up on eBay. Let's Go to the Zoo. Got 12 animal songs, like Strolling Through the Zoo, the hippopotamus song, the leopard song, the happy seal. It's kind of cool. Smiling out. See, he's in an enclosure, but these guys are free. Someone better let the kids know. Flight of the Condor from BBC, and these are beautiful, beautiful birds if you ever get a chance to see them. Now, along with that, the songs. This is a reissue album. I think this one's from '82 or so. Songs of the Humpback Whale. It's really cool. It's got communications of the humpback there. Of course, I think elephants, along with whales, are smarter than people, and we'll eventually realize that. But it's a really cool album if you can ever find this one. Songs of the Humpback Whale. And continuing on with animal sounds, Jungle Odyssey. These are one of these albums that just kind of feature jungle sounds. Like you'll have your elephant sounds, lion sounds, wildebeest sounds. All these sounds are on an LP. If you don't get a chance to take Safari, but you want to listen to what it would be on Safari, a lot of these cool things. Of course, another sound album that's a pretty popular one. This one came out a few years before I was born as well, called Bushveld. It's from South Africa. It won an award and everything. If you ever see this one on eBay or at an album store, if you're an animal freak like me, you probably want to pick this up. It's got a lot of animals, from hyena to baboons, shrikes, crocodiles. Some are played just the sound, some are put on with the music on LPs like this, so it's a pretty good find. Now we'll move on to just general animals on albums. Adrian Belew. Of course, this one's called the Lone Rhino. Now currently it's about 5,000 black rhinos out there, but we got to keep the protection. I was a little kid listening to stuff like this in the Chicago area. LS, Uncle Lair, and Little Tommy's Animal Stories, crazy stories that revolved around animals, either wild animals or people's house pets, and they would just read stories. I think the show was on almost like weekly or something like that. But there's 3 volumes. This is volume 1. If you ever see this in the album stores, pick this up. It's pretty cool. Of course, speaking about Chicago area, wouldn't be complete with Bozo and the Bird. Always a clown. Always appreciating animals. Thank you, Bozo. So we'll wrap this up with a category called the top 3 uses of my favorite animal, tiger, in LPs. Tied for 3rd is the Joanne Castle in her Wild Piano. Of course, what's cooler than Louis Cardenas, Animal Instinct? For sure this is the 80s. I mean, just that, if anything screams, like that guy's jumping out of the 80s. He's Mr. 80s. Trillion. That's kind of a cool image, I think, of a tiger. Of course, the singer of the Trillion actually played a role in this band, which is the #1 usage of a tiger in an album of all time, Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. Come on. Pick this one up and jam it all the time. Of course, Charlie Rabbit, who lives upstairs, he wanted me to do quickly before I cut out the top usage of a rabbit on an album cover, and that's Rush Presto. He loves rabbits. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed this video. We'll see you next week with a more outside real world animal video. But like I said, lots of information on this video's description. As always, thanks for watching.